Animations for various champions in-game are broken, the community responds to bad Modok Island rewards, and what happens to your leftover intel? Yes, hello everybody, welcome back to the Marvel Contest of Champions news. This is your Wednesday edition, and this deep dives a lot of stuff that has recently dropped in the last 24 hours, with extra details that you're not going to see anywhere else, for I do the research. I did my best to research. And in this particular edition of the news, we're going to be focusing on all those things and more, starting off a few little kind of like fluff stories and funny things that Kabam have changed around, which obviously with the animations thing and as well different stance changes is, well, just a bit odd, but you know, Kabam are working on different stuff at random times, so anything is really odd nowadays. But before we do get into the news, I would just want to give a bit of thanks and thank you to those that support the channel through the means of Patreon. As a YouTube member, by the way, good to see all my YouTube members yesterday for the stream. I'll see you on Thursday for the next stream. And as well, thank you very much to the Twitch subs. And as well, if anybody has Amazon Prime and want to give a free Twitch sub, you can do by following the on-screen instructions. And as well, coming on by to the Twitch live stream. We're pushing now, we're nearly at 800 followers, and we're nearly there to get up to 1,000, hopefully very, very soon. Fingers crossed for that. And now last but certainly not least, a thank you to those that have subscribed with post notifications on all, and as well support for the means of watching the vids, hitting the like button, and as well getting involved with the comment section down below. That really helps towards the channel's support and as well keeping me going through these hard times. So thank you everybody, and let's get into the news, shall we? Our first bit of news, and in funny, I can't believe they changed it news, is that Red Guardian's kind of stance has changed. So before the update, as you can see, he had this badger stance, which pretty much looked like this. By the way, shout out to anybody that remembers Weeble stuff, and badger, mushroom. And if you didn't get that reference then, well, sad for you. In any case, Red Guardian is now looking like this. So yeah, he's gone from badger looking to then normal looking. So I don't know why Kabam decided to change it. It looked like he needed the loo. But there's many champions like Thor Ragnarok that looks like he's needing the loo all the time. So not needing the loo, Red Guardian. Now Red Guardian is kind of like, relief. Our next story on the chopping block is animations. Now this was something that a lot of people were coming to me yesterday to say that, have you noticed significant changes when it comes to things like wing movements, tentacles, chains, those kind of things. Objects that I've shoved up my, no, that's another thing. That's another joke. But to be serious, animations have changed, or there is a serious bug. An example of which can be seen on screen at the moment, and you're probably thinking that maybe this is completely fine, but it's not. The way the tentacles are moving in such a way, it's just more like not even elasticity to them. It's just the case it's not really coded correctly, or the movements are completely off. Looks like the same case has to be for Medusa and as well Archangel, to name a few. Here's an example of the SP1 of Yondu, and I think it went over the top of the head of the character. So there's another kind of like woo. Initially, Kabam's Zibit responding, "Hey there, we've passed the reports along to the rest of the team. Could those who are seeing this issue please share any videos you have of what you've seen, seeing if available. You can share the video by posting. Obviously, you can do that right now. But it looks like Kabam are on the case of this because they've seen various reports on the matter." Kabam Mike even took to Twitter to kind of like reaffirm that is the case, saying, "Not just you, and it's not Archangel. The animations look weird with some champions that have props, like Ghost Rider's chains or Medusa's hair. There shouldn't be any difference in how they perform, and we're working on a fix." Next up, and let's talk about intel. Now, as a lot of you know, we were given a huge amount of intel a couple of days ago. I myself have just this morning blasted through a load of rifts I've had left. Hasn't really been that thrilling, except for obviously when we did the epic live stream version of it, because I picked up a Skill Awakening gem and as well like a few other things as well. But that was an amazing bit of rifting luck. However though, when it comes to like how people are looking at their intel left over, because they're like, well, I can't be bothered to do master, or it's a case like, well, what happens to my intel now it's all done? We've got you covered with an answer. The question went out yesterday to Kabam Mike about what's the ruling on the leftover intel, and basically this is the thing. Use it while you can. Nothing is going to be added to the store, so obviously that's the Modok gift store, and you won't be able to sell it after. If you're wondering why we gave 10k intel everybody yesterday, you can read about it here, so obviously that's what we've just gone on. Now to one of the biggest stories of the day, and that is going to be talking about the Modok Island, kind of Modok's Labs, Sinister Labs rehash. Basically, lots to talk about with this, but I think the main thing that we need to talk about is the underwhelming rewards. And what we're going to do as well is we're going to compare them against previous things. So Fantastic Invasions, which isn't, and it's like, it seems to be the testament to what should be tested to when it comes to rewards given back to the player. And as well, Sinister Labs for 2019, and as well, Modok Labs, the last iteration in 2018. Compare them off, especially with the evolution of the game. So let's deep dive this. One of the key things to point out is with Sinister Labs and Modok Labs, the issues with those events was a time grind sensitive thing. So if you're spending a lot of your time grinding out, and let's face it, I think players were saying that it was taking them about 30 to 35 minutes to do one of the labs, or the entirety. I can't remember how that was kind of like broken down, but it always used to be a longer time to do things like Sinister Labs and Modok Labs. And that's very important because that's time sensitive to people's enjoyment. And if you have to do something you don't really like for 30 minutes each and every day, then that can make a bit of a sour taste in the mouth. But look, people will do it because they want to gain the rewards, and this is the downside, is that you might feel forced to do this and obviously to get those Modok coins to then spend in the store at a later date. Obviously, if the Island of Dr. Modok event is very specific for you to actually do it, because you have to do it to get the coins in order to spend them in the store, then obviously that's going to be quite frustrating if there's certain things with the randomizer not really kind of working in your favor. The deleter, which seems to be very much a case you'll invest a lot of your currency in it to buy it, which it doesn't really in times like feel like cool enough to kind of like, I'm not really sure if I'm overly happy with that kind of narrative to be pushed. But I think it's the other side of things when it comes to scaling of rewards on the daily grind as well. The time that it usually takes to do it, that is the biggest concern for players. Now there seems to be a little bit of a discrepancy in the way that the Modok contracts also integrate with the final totals. So I'm not quite sure on this, because Modok contract says 13 special objectives will appear at random times throughout the month. Complete the contracts by finding and defeating the champions listed on the special objectives and collect even more gold coins as a reward. These could appear any time, so keep an eye for your special objectives. But then it doesn't add on to the totals, because here if you read it, it says you'll not be able to purchase everything in store. Yes, but then it says there'll be 3,024 gold coins available throughout the event by completing epic difficulty of the Island of Dr. Modok every time, and veteran solo events. So it doesn't really factor into the contracts. Do the contracts add on to that total of 3,024? And in fact, there's more coins to be grabbed. That is something that, you know, if these are coming at random, I'll have to kind of find out, well, what does an objective give out? And then basically, is that going to add on to the 3,024 at a later date? Those are key questions that I think need to be answered to give players the idea. Do I need to do Modok, the Island of Modok event, or is it a case I could do the objectives? And it's obviously going to be beneficial to grab more coins. Now, one of the hot topics is rewards, and let's first of all talk about the Island of Dr. Modok rewards. So on a daily basis, when you go in and grind, we don't have to do it on a daily basis, you can do it whenever, but it's a case that if you want to like consider it, well, what do you get on a daily basis, then look at this. So you can get 60 gold coins, 50 6-star shards, 500 5-star shards, gold of 6,000, and 2 randomizers. Doesn't seem that bad, but now if you divert your attention back 2 years to a previous Modok Labs event, the fact is there was something like a signature stone crystal, which was brilliant and something that is going to be relevant for what we're going to talk about. But this is a very different time, so these rewards don't match up to the current meta of the game. The same thing can really be said by 2019's edition of Sinister Labs, which again, even though has something that isn't exactly brilliant, the fact is this is still not exactly keeping with the meta of the game. The meta has definitely shifted, and as well with what players really require nowadays to get through a lot of different content, and as well, you know, becoming up and coming with their rosters and Act 6 and other things like that, and RNG. That is something that doesn't really, again, factor into the meta, but there is something to compare this. And that would be the Fantastic Invasions. Now, there probably will be some naysayers that would say that, well, this was different because they were giving out exponentially more. But, and here's the but, there could be a nice happy medium for this. That if you were going, right, well, why not give 75 6-star shards or even 100 6-star shards a day, which, let's face it, by the end of it, it's 3,000 6-star shards. Not a huge amount to kind of like talk about here, especially on a month where it's really dry with extra 6-star shards, unless Kabam are planning to put out another kind of event, which they haven't really announced, and therefore there's no teasers for that. So obviously there's nothing to really sink our kind of like appetites or kind of whet our appetites. And as well, going with the 5-star shard side of things, again, happy medium would be to add 750 as opposed to kind of going, oh, exploration, 1,000. 750 is nice enough. It just adds that extra and does give the players the opportunity to pick up a lot more, or maybe even more than 500, more than 750, maybe 1,000. I'm not quite sure, but this signature stone crystal is something that would be great to be added in. But with a lot of champions becoming incredibly powerful, with more signatures being put on, and as well the limitation of only 20 available when it comes to signature stone crystals, and the fact that these are not generic. These are random. They're random. So, you know, not exactly brilliant. The store itself is very hit and miss as well, and that's the key thing to really talk about, that players are really kind of responding to the way that this looks based on purchases and as well availability of some items. As I said, the signature stone crystal, like, I'm really interested in getting more signatures onto certain champions, especially meaning that they're more powerful, obviously. But the way that to obtain that is not obviously through this medium. And where other months it may have been like more easier to pick them up. And we haven't seen anything in the featured store for a while. You know, the one you buy with units and you buy like a load of generics, and it's just like, it seems pretty cool. I think there were sometimes some class ones, some specific type of ones you could pick up, like a ×5 on certain particular classes. But the fact is, seeing something that would have been generic and as well maybe a larger volume, I think I said in the podcast I would have liked to have seen anything around about the 30 to 50 mark. I can't remember, but it would have been nice to see something in there that was a higher volume. Even if it's the case, it's like it's the crystals, 50 of the crystals, or maybe like even 30 to 40 of the actual generic. It's still enough to kind of like help out a certain champion develop further. You know, adding extra 30 signatures for your Namor to get him up to signature 200. Some players with a Red Guardian, some players with like Beardo getting up to 200 sig. So there would be better opportunity with a generic, as opposed to having something like a randomized crystal. Now, it's at this point a wild Mickey appears and says, hey everybody, nothing to say right now, but I've raised this with the team. This is an event that is live tomorrow, so I'm not sure what is possible / anything is possible. It follows up with, I know this is later than usual, but there's been a lot going on lately that has required our attention. That one is on me, and I apologize for that. Wazzy makes a great point about the extent of the feedback that obviously is given back from the players to the developer. Now, the one big issue and the one thing I like about this situation is that it's not gone through the CCP. Not everything goes. I'd say like about 10% of things might be filtered through to the CCP, when 90% of stuff Kabam just go like straight, let's put it out, which is good. And the reason it's good is because it's then a case you all as summoners get to have your say on things. So obviously in this case, if Mickey then goes back and goes, right, the summoners are saying this rather than the CCP are saying this, then it's better, because then it just kind of like takes away that whole kind of like, oh, people talk about the CCP, oh, they know more stuff than they should do, and that kind of like narrative going like, well, they don't reflect us as the players of the game. So it's just kind of good that it gets to everybody first to have a say, rather than it being very specific when it comes to feedback. Either way, the fact is, this is something that needs to be looked into if this is going to be an ongoing thing. Kabam obviously have said in previous statements in this particular section that they have to answer bigger things, and that general feedback thing is a massive thing. It's taken them a long time to properly answer it, which means that there is, the longer it takes, the bigger the expectation. That's the first thing. But the second thing being that I would not like to have a slapdash response that was not specific and didn't cover all the areas of players that you have concern about. So that is something that I really, as I've said, I hope for the best with Kabam in answering this, because obviously we want this game to continue on but at the same time, key things have to be answered, including side events that have stores that don't really match up, and as well maybe side quest rewards that again maybe don't add up quite so much. And now on to arena predictions time. Now this one is going to be a pretty much an easy one to predict. How the Duck, I think it's going to go quite low, and I think that that particular champion is going to go in the region of about 28 mil, which I think is a lot lower than I think people might expect, but I think that it could even go a lot lower than that. I don't know, like people's habits of grinding out say like average champions is very strange at the moment. But yeah, 28 mil for that champion I'm going with. The 4-star version, 6.2 or 6.2 mil. I don't know if anybody really is going to be interested. And as well, when it comes to Mr. Fantastic, the basic, I'm going with a very healthy 2.9 mil, but maybe 3 mil to be safe. So let's round up. Let's just say 3 mil to be safe with that one. But with that champion, I don't know, man. I feel that could probably go 2.7, but I'm going with a strong 3 mil. Let's say 3 mil for that champion to be safe. There we go. That's been Marvel Contest of Champions news for Wednesday. Check out some fresh content up here. Check out some other stuff down here. There's going to be a lot of content that needs to be put out today from Modok Labs, store stuff, getting coins, those kind of things that I'll be putting out a lot of content today. Starting off from 1800 hours GMT. Expect lots of content, and I'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.